Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a really fascinating source. It's trying to connect some dots across history.
That's right. We're looking at parts of the Veil of Isis, or Mysteries of the Druids.
And the title alone tells you it's ambitious. It seems to be about tracing ancient spiritual ideas right up to, well, secret societies we know today.
Exactly. The author wants to explore what they see as this most ancient and universal religion. The idea is it might stem from some kind of primitive revelation.
A primitive revelation.
Yeah.
And the goal is big, right? Trying to get through the darkness of past ages, maybe find secrets buried for centuries.
It's definitely a bold claim, proposing that under all the different religions we know, there's this core shared belief system.
Stemming from that original revelation you mentioned.
Yes, the idea of fundamental truths given to, well, the very first humans.
Okay, so what were these core truths, this initial understanding, according to the source? What did it actually involve?
Well, the text suggests it was surprisingly clear. Basically, belief in one God, the idea that the soul lives on after death immortality,
Right.
and also a sense of future rewards and punishments, consequences for your actions.
Okay, and the title, The Veil of Isis. That sounds symbolic. What's that representing here?
Yeah, it's a key metaphor. Think of it like a veil hiding these original truths, something that's obscured this fundamental understanding over time, a layer of mystery, basically.
So the author connects this hidden source to lots of ancient religions, Chaldea, Egypt, Persia, India, Greece, the Druids too.
Correct, but not like copies. The word used is ramifications,
It's
like
branches.
Exactly, like branches from one original tree trunk. It's argued they all stem from this initial patriarchal religion.
Patriarchal religion. Okay.
And interestingly, the author says that even when these religions changed or got maybe corrupted over time, you can still find traces, vestiges of the original core beliefs.
Okay, that brings us to the mysteries, these secret traditions.
Mm-hmm.
How did they fit in? Were they about keeping this original wisdom going?
Pretty much. The mysteries were like special containers for the deeper stuff, exclusive groups, you could say.
Right.
They used secret initiations, religious stories, allegories, and symbolic ceremonies to pass on these deeper insights. Only to the initiated, of course.
So they were deliberately protecting the knowledge. But why the secrecy? If the original revelation was so clear, why hide it later?
That's a really good point. The source seems to suggest two main reasons. First, protect the sacred truths from being, well, misunderstood or misused, profaned, as the author puts it. And second, it allowed them to reveal these ideas gradually to initiates, like a step-by-step journey into understanding.
Makes sense. And the book mentions some big names, famous figures, who supposedly tapped into this ancient knowledge.
It does. People like Zoroaster, the legendary Hermes Trismegistus, even Orpheus, Pythagoras, Plato. They're presented as having drawn from these ancient mystery traditions.
Wow. So the implication is this hidden knowledge might have been passed down through some pretty influential people.
That's the suggestion, yeah. A kind of perhaps unbroken chain of esoteric understanding going way back.
So let's talk about the Druids specifically. They're right there in the subtitle. How does the author connect them to this ancient line?
Well, the argument is built on parallels. Similarities between Druid beliefs and this supposed universal religion.
What kind of similarities?
Things like their belief in one supreme being, the soul's immortality, and even transmigration, the soul moving between different life forms after death. Plus, they had their own secret initiations.
Transmigration. That sounds a bit different from just simple immortality. Does the author get into why those variations might pop up?
The source doesn't really focus on the why of the variations so much. It's more about pointing out the shared threads, the underlying common ground, rather than explaining every difference.
Okay. And the Druids' connection to nature, their reverence for oaks, mistletoe, their knowledge of astronomy. How does that fit?
That's seen as more evidence connecting them to this ancient tradition, not just random practices, but part of this larger spiritual current. The author actually compares these Druidic things to symbols in other old cultures.
Suggesting a common origin again.
Exactly. And they weren't just priests, were they? Their influence was broader.
Right. The source mentions they were also judges, poets, teachers.
Absolutely. Which shows how central their tradition was in their societies. They held a lot of different important roles.
Okay, so bringing it towards the end goal of the book, connecting all this ancient stuff to modern secret societies. How does the author make that leap?
It's stated pretty clearly as an aim. to trace this chain of connection. The idea is that societies like Freemasonry, maybe others too, have kept elements of this ancient wisdom alive.
There are symbols and rituals.
Yes, often encoded in their allegories and symbols. The suggestion is that understanding the ancient mysteries helps unlock the meaning behind modern rituals.
What sort of proof or evidence does the author use for that connection? That seems like a big claim.
Well, it seems to focus more on identifying similarities, looking at symbols, the structure of rituals, the philosophical ideas, finding parallels between the ancient and the modern.
So less about definite historical proof like we'd expect today, and more about suggesting possible links based on these perceived likenesses.
I think that's a fair way to put it. Suggesting potential lines of influence, shared ideas, rather than a documented paper trail necessarily.
Right. So to wrap up our look at the Veil of Isis, the author is really painting this huge picture, a single ancient revelation.
Preserved through secret mysteries and different cultures like the Druids.
And maybe, just maybe, echoing down into secret societies today. It definitely highlights this ongoing human search for deeper meaning and, well, our fascination with secrets.
It really does. It's a narrative about a long, interconnected spiritual journey for humanity, and this intriguing idea that certain core beliefs and practices might have survived in changed forms across millennia.
It certainly gives you something to think about. What if many spiritual traditions do share some ancient root? And why are we humans so drawn to secrets, to initiation, to hidden knowledge? Does looking back at these connections tell us anything useful about our world now?
A lot to chew on there.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.